Just wanted to make a little video. I'm on the way to the farm in the LL Bean. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Today is Black Friday. I don't know if any of y'all went out and dealt with any of the crazies this morning trying to get those good deals. I did a little bit of shopping. I went out to Home Depot and grabbed a deal they had on combo kit with a drill and impact, a DeWalt set with a flex volt battery. Just something for myself. Wasn't out in Walmart trying to fight over a 50-inch TV or camping out in front of Best Buy or any other craziness. I usually don't even go out for Black Friday at all, but it was a pretty good deal, so I went, and it wasn't very crowded, small town, so not too terrible. Trying to figure out what I'm going to film a video on this week. This might be my video, it might not, depending on how y'all like these talking videos. Sorry in advance. I know I probably sound kind of cruddy. Had a bonfire Wednesday night, and stupid me should have not been out there because of my allergies, but I was out there, so now my sinuses and throat are all messed up from breathing that smoke in. Brilliant, I know. Driving the old 2002 LL Bean, currently at 286,866 miles. I bought this car, I think it was 5, maybe 6 years ago now. I had a customer brought the car to me. This was back when I had my shop open and was working on cars full time for myself. And they had cracked the radiator and kept putting water in it, trying to get home. Of course, they ran it hot and ended up blowing the head gaskets on the car. Well, simultaneously, they had neglected leaking rocker cover gasket, and it had gotten low on engine oil and had a rod knock. So the car rod knock and head gaskets blown. I wrote them a quote just to replace the engine with a used junkyard engine, I believe from LKQ or another one of the salvage yards in the area. And they didn't want to put the money in fixing the car, so I offered them $500 for the car, and they sold it to me. I believe when I bought it from them, it had 233,000 miles on it. It might have been a little less than that, but the original engine, transmission, everything in the car, 230-ish thousand miles with no issue, aside for them running it out of oil and spinning a rod bearing and running it hot multiple times and blowing a head gasket. Had that hot happened, I'm sure this car would have been perfectly fine. I'm sure that the original engine would still be perfectly fine. The engine that I installed in the car after I bought it from the customer, I believe was a 130,000 mile engine. So the engine has roughly 100,000 miles less than the car does. So 186-ish is what I have on the engine now. I haven't really had any issues with it. When I got the car, the AC didn't work, but that was the O-ring at the compressor, which I made a video on this summer. A really common issue. Those O-rings dry out and you lose your refrigerant charge. So 15-cent O-ring and recharge, vacuum the system out, good to go. I haven't had any issues with the AC in the last 5-6 years of driving the car. I put front brakes, rotors and pads on it. I put rear pads and rotors on it, which I filmed a video on. I didn't film the front. I replaced the driver's side CV axle. I replaced the passenger front wheel bearing on the car. I've got a little bit of wheel bearing noise in the car now. I'm pretty sure it's the driver's side. I haven't got any play in the bearing, so I've sort of let it ride since I don't drive the car very much now that I've got the 2014 3.6R. but I need to do that soon. I did the transmission fluid replacement video on this car and dropped the pan and resealed the pan because the transmission pan was leaking. I did the front gear oil in the front differential. I did the gear oil in the rear differential. I resealed the sunroof track that was leaking, which I need to pull that back out again because now the other drain is leaking in the rear, which seems to be a pretty common issue on this generation, second generation Outbacks with the dual sunroof setup. I've got the right hand side tail light has developed a crack in the top of it just from age and is getting water in it, but I'm going to pull one of the good tail lights off of parts car to replace that. I put a set of tires on it a while back. God, what else have I done to this car? Serpentine belt and just the old cooler O-ring, which is another common issue. Replace that. I've got a small leak going on in around the timing chain cover. So at about 300,000 miles, I'm planning to pull this engine out and reseal the timing cover and front and rear because it's starting to seep. Other than that, I'm not really had an issue with it. Changed some spark plugs not too long ago, which I did film a video on. And what else? Put rocker cover gaskets on the engine before I installed it from the junkyard. But other than that, just minuscule things, nothing out the crazy expensive or anything. And like I said, I paid $500 for the car and I've drove it now for 6 years. So the little bit of money I've had to put into it maintenance wise is like nothing to me. I mean, I've probably got maybe $3,500 in the car grand total, which I don't mind because it still rides well, it stops well, the AC works, the heat works, the heated seats work, both sunroofs open and work, although I don't ever use the sunroof. I mean, it's been a great car and is continuing to be a great car, even though I'm not driving as much. And I actually prefer driving it to my 2014 3.6R. The new 3.6R is a very nice car, but it's just something about the newer Subarus, the newer Outbacks. They're so much larger. They're not. I prefer these because they're smaller and like station wagon size. The new Outback is no longer a station wagon in my eyes. It's a small to mid-size SUV, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem to ride like a Subaru, and it doesn't feel Subaru-y to me, if that even makes sense. Like first gen Outbacks, second gen Outbacks, I guess it was that more harsh, less refined ride. I don't know what it is. And the styling and look of them, they've become so mainstream. Even the newest ones. I mean, the 15 and newer Outback, I really love the look of them, but they've become so bland in their styling, so to say. They're trying to look like everyone else. I mean, it all, it's Subaru trying to capture more share of the market. Subaru's not making their quirky little funny standout cars anymore. Subarus aren't the quirky little great things they used to be. That I mean, the things I really loved about them, like the bug-eye WRXs and the SVX with its freaking window and glass roof, and the Brat, and just everything that was Subaru about Subaru is kind of going the wayside now. And basically the only thing Subaru left Subaru in the modern cars is the boxer engine. There's just so much going on now with the styling and the safety features, which another thing I really don't like about my 3.6R is the EyeSight. I'm not a fan of EyeSight, and I'm probably going to do a video just on the EyeSight system and the problems I've had with it. not so much problems, but the annoyances I have with it. And I don't know, it's just, it just doesn't feel like a Subaru to me anymore, as weird as that sounds, or as cliche or stupid as that sounds. It's just, I don't know, there's just something that doesn't feel the same in driving the new Outback and driving this old O2. But anyway, I'm rambling now. I was just going to make a short little video on the way to the farm. I've got some work to try to do and maybe figure out what I'm going to make a repair video on this week. I would like to keep trying to do more diagnostic videos, which I believe with the knock sensor video last week, it was pretty well received. So going to try to do more focus videos on sensors and sensor testing and codes, and trying to recreate issues that I can, because like I said, I don't have, I'm back working for Snap-on now, so I don't have cars coming in the shops when I was doing my mobile technician work and mobile diagnostic work. So finding live issues is a problem at the moment. But knowing how things fail and the way things fail and how the systems work, you can kind of put a bug in the system yourself and go backwards and figure it out. I mean, that's much easier than finding, a random car that comes in with an issue and trying to diagnose it, because you put the issue there, so you know exactly the way it is or what's exactly wrong with it. But anyway, I'm rambling on. I want to apologize to those of you that have emailed me asking about parts for sale. Getting back to work and going back to work with Snap-on has taken up a lot more time than I initially thought it would, and has interfered with getting your parts request in. I think I've basically emailed all of you that have emailed me inquiring about parts and let you know the situation. Hopefully I can get those parts checked and shipped out to you and priced fairly soon, but I don't know an ETA on when that would be as of yet. On top of that, I want to apologize for lack of repair videos once again. The next repair video coming out will not be Subaru related. It will be on it's my mother's Chevy Cruze, which hopefully I can get sold here soon, because she wants an Outback, preferably a second gen LL Bean like my black one, just white. But she's kind of picky and expecting to find one under 100,000 miles, and it's quite difficult to find a 14-year-old plus car under 100,000 miles. And I can't seem to get it through her head that mileage and reliability don't always go hand in hand. Case in point, my O2 that has 286,875 miles and rarely gives me any issues, if any at all. I'm thinking about doing a live stream Q&A. I don't know exactly what I got to do to set that up, because I've never done a live stream before other than on my phone, so I don't know what all is involved with doing it from the computer via hooking up the camera and microphone input, etc. But if I can make that happen, and you guys are interested in something like that, a live stream Q&A or something, let me know in the comments below. Depending on your feedback, we may or may not. So just let me know your thoughts. Hoping to get back on board with the repair videos and other Subaru content. I know that basically I've built this channel on repair videos, but I didn't know if maybe I don't know, expand out and do some review videos, maybe do some videos on aftermarket parts, like on the Legacy GT once I get it back together, which who knows when that'll be at this point. I still have to build the addition onto my building to get some of the in-depth videos I have planned in my head filmed. Hopefully it's still a future plan to build at least a two-car garage with a concrete floor and lifts in it, and move my tools and everything in there, and then I can make much nicer videos, better lighting, hopefully better camera work, etc. But who knows how long that'll be off. Everything I planned out sort of went out the window when the opportunity to go back to work for Snap-on came about. So trying to get everything else figured out from there. Still thinking about doing a review video on my 2014 Outback 3.6R. I know it's now a 5-year model old vehicle, but I don't know if any of you would be interested in a video reviewing it or not. If that's something that you might be interested in seeing, let me know about that in the comments also below. I am planning to do a video on Subaru Eyesight and my experience with it in my 2014. I'm not the biggest fan of it, which I stated earlier or later. I'm not sure exactly how I'm cutting this video together. I'm just not the biggest fan of it, and I've heard people say that, 2013, 2014 Outbacks with Eyesight, it was the first go of the system in the US, and the 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 now model, updated software, firmware, what have you, for the Eyesight is much better. But I don't know, I'm not a big fan of it. I've had issues where my main issue with the Eyesight is when I'm using cruise control is dictated by the Eyesight system. It's not independent, and you can't disconnect the two as far as I know. Maybe if you take off lane departure and frontal crash prevention, maybe that disables the Eyesight from controlling the cruise control. I haven't tried that to know. It's another thing I don't like about the Eyesight. To disable it, you got lights on your dash when you take the lane departure off and you take off the front collision avoidance. I hate having lights on my dashboard and or in the instrument cluster, and that really irks me. But not as much as it irks me when it goes off all the time. Whether I am or am not veering out of the lane, even if I get close to the edge of the white line, it'll go off saying I'm leaving the lane. I've had issues where I can't use my cruise control in the morning due to fog on the windows, because the fog on the windows blocks the Eyesight cameras. In the late afternoon, especially now that time has changed, around 5 o'clock when the sun's setting and the angle that the sun is, the glare from the sun blinds the Eyesight cameras and disables cruise control. It gets pretty dang annoying. I know it's like a little thing. It's for safety. If the cameras are blinded by sunlight, then most likely the driver is too, and cruise control is not the best option. That you should be controlling your own speed at that point. But, you know, I've got a sun visor and sunglasses. Eyesight cameras do not. Another thing that's aggravating is during rain. You shouldn't be using your cruise control during rain. Even if it's light rain, I use Rain-X, and I know I've read somewhere in the documentation that Subaru advises, I think in a technical service bulletin, not to use Rain-X or any other windshield treatments, chemicals, because it messes with the Eyesight cameras. Something about the film that it uses, or the way that it makes the light refract off of the water droplets on the windshield will screw with it. I've had it happen 2 or 3 different times. But, if I'm on the highway and it's a light rain and I can't set my cruise control, that's kind of aggravating. I know I'm being lazy setting cruise control all the time, but that's my main issue with it, is the cruise control issue. I have had a few instances where it has falsely detected an obstacle in front of me and wanted to activate the brakes in a panic stop. There's a few sections in around where my mother lives, where there's some yield lanes, turn lanes, and there's a pretty large road sign in the island in front of where you go to yield off. And when you go to yield off, it's a 45-mile-an-hour road, and you can basically take that yield at full 45 mile an hour, especially in a Subaru with all-wheel drive. But the eyesight cameras detect the sign as an obstacle and think you're about to crash, and that's aggravating when you're going to turn and yield, and your car wants to try to panic stop you, especially if there's a car anywhere near you when you're trying to make that yield turn across traffic. I've had other instances where there's other instances that are kind of aggravating in back to the cruise controlled by eyesight. If someone is even 3 or 4 car lengths ahead and decides to turn, you're nowhere close to hitting them if you maintain your current speed to the speed of them turning. I've had eyesight slam on the brakes pretty hard a couple times due to a car turning in front of me, which, like I said, I would have not come close to hitting, but it freaked out and thought I was going to collide with them. Just little stuff like that that's pretty freaking aggravating, but it is what it is. It was the first U.S. version of eyesight, if I recall correctly. I believe Japan and the UK, they were able to have eyesight equipped top tier, like the 2nd gen Outback. I've seen a video, and I think it was Japan, but it had a very primitive eyesight system. It had the cameras the same as eyesight has on the modern vehicles. It had just a few lights on the dash that illuminated for the eyesight, whether it was a car ahead or lane departure, rather than the full text graphic screen that's in the middle of the cluster on like my 2014. But yeah, I mean, it is. I'm still going to say it's a good system because it has saved me from a crash. I think one time, maybe two, I was on the interstate and everyone wanted to brake check all of a sudden, and the eyesight reacted before I could and stopped me from plowing into the car in front of me. So, I mean, it's not all bad, but it's a lot of annoyances in it. But I guess it's just me not used to the system. But anyway, yeah, please share your thoughts with me on some of the stuff I've covered in the comments. If you'd like to see a live stream Q&A, a review video of my 2014 Outback, what I like, what it dislike, or just a review of modern Subarus altogether in comparison to the older Subarus. Still plan to do a straight video on eyesight, although I covered a lot of the points I wanted to do in the video. But I do have clips where I've set my camera up, my GoPro up in the car, and have captured, with the sun glare killing the eyesight and killing cruise control, or where I take that particular yield to the left and the road sign causes eyesight to freak out. There's some rolling hills in the neighborhood near my mother's house, and I was going down, it was like 25, 30 mile an hour, just a city street, and it's pretty hilly up and down. I go down the hill, and eyesight freaked out and said warning collision or obstacle detected, because the angle of the car was pointed down and it was picking up the daggum road ahead before the road went back up. I mean, it just seems that it's like super touchy. Maybe it's just my car. Maybe my car hasn't had the latest update on the eyesight or the latest firmware or what have you. I don't know. I haven't taken it to the Subaru dealership because, of course, as you see in all my videos, I do all my own repairs and maintenance. But I don't know. It might be worth at least looking into, see if there's a service bulletin or something on the eyesight, because it seems over edgy. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for listening to my rambling, and we'll see you in the next video.